Okay, this is going to be a classic Ring of Honor review of Man Up. This is the 10th anniversary coming up. I can't believe it's been 10 years since it aired on pay-per-view. This was actually taped September 15th, 2007 in Chicago, but it didn't officially air on pay-per-view until November 30th. This is actually the third Ring of Honor taped 2-hour pay-per-view, but yeah, it's an awesome show. This is probably, I'm not going to say it's the best Ring of Honor show ever, but I would say it's probably the most popular. And without a doubt, I would probably say it's the best, pay-per-view that was on pay-per-view, not counting the pay-per-views. I'm sure some of you guys might argue that Death Before Dishonor 8 was better than this, but that was an pay-per-view. This was just a PPV. So yeah, Man Up, the 2-hour pay-per-view portion of this show was incredible. I'll also talk about the dark matches after the 2 hours. So we start off tonight with Chris Hero, Naomichi Marufuji, Nigel McGuinness, and Claudio Castagnoli. This is basically, it's a number one contenders match. I don't think it was officially announced as a number one contenders match, but Nigel ended up going over. He cut a promo. Fans were getting behind Nigel. Nigel was saying that his quest for the ROH World Championship is not over. And then, as most of you guys probably know, Nigel, the very next month at the Undeniable pay-per-view, he defeated Morishima for the ROH title. So this is just a nice momentum-building match for him. But I thought the match was great, though. This is one of the best openers in ROH history. Probably one of the most underrated matches in ROH history, too. I mean, the amount of talent and diversity in this match was just unbelievable. You had wrestlers from all over the world here. You had Marufuji from Japan. You had Chris Hero representing the cocky, arrogant American in this match. You had Nigel McGuinness from the UK, from London, England, and then you had Claudio Castagnoli from Switzerland. So you just had the four of the best on the indies, or four of the best ever, I would say, just in one match here. And the combinations here were just incredible. You had Nigel and Marufuji going at it. They have great history. They've had classics in the past. The story of the match, though, was, Claudio trying to get his revenge on Hero. As you know, Hero turned on Claudio and sided with Larry Sweeney and Sweet and Sour Incorporated, going back to Final Battle 2006. So that storyline was still playing out here. But just the spots were incredible here. A lot of high spots. Nigel actually pulled off a crossbody off the top turnbuckle over the guardrail into the crowd. So that was probably the biggest bump Nigel ever took. And, it's crazy to think about, but the injuries started piling up shortly after this match for Nigel as well. So, but yeah, Nigel busted out a lot of jawbreaker lariats here to Marufuji and got the pinfall on Claudio. That probably wasn't the most brutal one. It's one of the most brutal that Nigel's dished out. But if you want to see the most brutal jawbreaker lariat that Nigel dished out, you got to see the Jimmy Rave match from Fifth Year Festival finale. I think Jimmy Rave actually had to get surgery on his jaw because it was so stiff. But yeah, Marufuji looked good here. He actually busted out the I forgot that he even did it, but he actually did the curb stomp. And this is actually Tyler Black's first ROH show. So it's probably no surprise. He probably borrowed the curb stomp or got the idea from the curb stomp from Marufuji from this show. So that's a little interesting side note. But Marufuji and Hero in the same match here, it was just two polar opposites. Because Hero was entertaining as hell. This might have been the most entertaining Chris Hero match because he was showing off his athleticism. He was just doing cartwheels, squats, just doing all types of crazy shit. And Marufuji was like, "I'm tagging out. I don't know what to think of this shit." So yeah, just a really, really good opener right there. I love that match. So from there, we actually go into a best out of 3 series between the Resilience and the No Remorse Core. The Resilience is actually Austin Aries' faction, and the No Remorse Core is actually Roderick Strong's faction. So this had been building up the whole year. If you guys remember at Fifth Year Festival, New York City in February 2007, Roderick Strong officially turned on Austin Aries and, Davey Richards actually sided with Roderick Strong, and they formed the No Remorse Corps. You know, Roderick is tired of being held back by Austin Aries. You know, Austin Aries got more attention than Roderick when Aries and Roderick were the tag team champions. You always heard the Austin Aries chants, but you never heard Roderick Strong chants. So Austin Aries had to form his new stable, and it was called The Resilience, featuring Erick Stevens and Matt Cross. Yeah, you know what's funny? If you guys watch Truth Slayer's Man Up review, he's actually wearing a Resilience T-shirt. You know, I don't know how many of those they sold, but I didn't even remember. I totally forgot that they used to sell Resilience merchandise. But yeah, that was actually Austin Aries' stable. So we have best out of three here. First match, you had Rocky Romero of the No Remorse Corps taking on Matt Cross, and before the match even started, you know, Matt Cross got in the ring, and then Davey was kind of making fun of him. He was like, "Oh, the gymnast, Matt Cross." Matt Cross is, you know, he was a gymnast. He's even taken some criticism for being more of a backyard wrestler. Basically, this guy does a lot of crazy moves. He does a lot of great spots. You know, very acrobatic. But, you know, his matches don't go very long because I don't really know if he has a lot of, you know, combat experience. You know, him being in the ring here with Rocky Romero, you got to give Rocky the edge as far as grappling, strikes, you know, kicks. Romero was definitely the better combat fighter here, but you know, Cross busted out a lot of unique things, just a lot of mind blowing stuff that you had never even seen before. You know, it's some of the stuff he pulled off. It's even hard to describe, but you know, like Truth Slayer said in his review, this is just a great television style match here. It only went about 6 minutes, but you know, short and sweet, but really entertaining. You know, the type of match that definitely could have been on TV, but you know, Rocky just a little bit too skilled with his feet for Matt Cross, and ends in about 6 minutes there. So the No Remorse Corps goes up 1-0. So from there, we have Davey Richards taking on Austin Aries for the second match, and awesome stuff here, man. Yeah, I mean, this pay-per-view, you know, the double main event got so much attention that you sometimes you forget that, you know, Austin Aries and Davey Richards were actually on this show. And, you know, Davey and Austin have great history. They had a show named after each other called Aries versus Richards from 2009. That was an awesome match. That match went about 45 minutes. But if you want to see them kind of in a, you know, 15-minute, no nonsense, a little bit more fast-paced matchup here, then here you go. This might have been the best work they've done together, under 20 minutes. They probably had other matches in Ring of Honor that I can't remember, but yeah, man, this was great stuff. You know, you can see Davey was definitely improving here. This is a great match for Aries because Aries, you know, had some stuff going on with TNA, with Austin Starr, ended up quitting TNA, and you know, cut some really heated promos when he returned at Driven, and it was kind of like the return of the old Austin Aries, the Austin Aries that wanted his wrestling freedom, and he went over Davey here with the 450 splash. Crowd was you know, insane for that finish, just a really hot finish there. Really good stuff between Davey and Austin, just good hold for hold counter wrestling mixed in with some you know, really intense high spots. Just really good stuff there. Do want to bring up, I saw Austin Aries promo from the House of Hardcore show, and man, everyone go check it out. It wasn't great. It didn't come off great because fans started shitting over it because it was about, you know, 13 minutes long, and instead of crapping on the WWE, he kind of took a different approach to it. But it's just interesting to see where Aries is at right now. I kind of feel bad for him. Promo didn't go over that well, but he really did say a lot of interesting things and a lot of just a lot of very insightful things as well. But like I said, it wasn't the kind of promo that the crowd wanted. So, you know, there was a couple drunks in the crowd that kind of shit all over it. But if you saw that Austin Aries promo, let me know what you guys thought of it. So for the next match from this best out of three series, you had Roderick Strong taking on Erick Stevens, and yeah, these guys just have so much chemistry. Erick Stevens was actually trained by Roderick Strong. I believe they actually trained together in Florida, where Roderick Strong is from. And if the one thing I'll say about this is the one thing I kind of come to the conclusion, Erick Stevens really needed Roderick Strong. Stevens has some good matches with Danielson and Aries, but, if you put him in the ring with just anybody, he really wasn't that impressive. But with Roderick, you could tell he was just comfortable doing certain things to him. Roderick was able to take a certain level of punishment from Erick Stevens. Their matches were just wars. And I forgot how underrated this was. This was pretty awesome. I would say that this is even better than their Final Battle 2007 match. Just had a better crowd. It just flowed a lot better, in my opinion. The Final Battle 2007, they had to work a lot harder in that match. The crowd just really wasn't that responsive. But here it was awesome, man. The amount of stiffness and the strikes, it was even better than Aries and Richards. I give them the nod for best match of the series. They closed it off really well. Like I said, Stevens was really aggressive, really did some, deadly moves to Roderick Strong. The finish is awesome too. Strong actually does a razor's edge off the top turnbuckle, then puts him away with the Gibson bomb. So great. I really love the ending there too. And like I said, this might be, without a doubt, the best Roderick Strong and Erick Stevens match. If you want to see the best Roderick Strong Erick Stevens match, check out the match from FIP. What was it called? FIP Redefined, I believe that was. And then the Respect is Earned 2. I'm going to call it a guerrilla warfare match, but no, a Fight Without Honor match between Strong and Stevens from Respect is Earned 2. That's worth checking out as well. But, all their matches were really good. Definitely the best of Erick Stevens was when he wrestled Roderick Strong. All right, so let's move on to the double main event. We have Takeshi Morishima, the ROH World Champion, taking on Bryan Danielson. I love Morishima's ROH World title reign. Now, I'm going to say now, Morishima, right now, the most underrated Ring of Honor champion. Thanks to Bryan Danielson, too. Danielson really made Morishima look like a monster in his title defenses. So 3 weeks earlier at Manhattan Mayhem 2 from New York City, August 25th, they had a classic 5-star match, masterpiece, like Crazy Mike would say. And that's the match where Bryan Danielson detached his retina in his eye. So this is the rematch here. Bryan Danielson's wearing an eye patch, and Danielson cuts one of the best promos he ever cut in Ring of Honor. It was 10 years ago, so you could see certain times Danielson was a little bit uncomfortable on the mic here. But I would say definitely one of the top 5, maybe top 10 promos that Danielson cut in Ring of Honor. And it reminds me, I really want to do a top 10 promos in Ring of Honor history, but I don't want my voice on for it. I would like to just play the promos in their entirety with the audio only. Only problem is I don't know if I could get away with it without getting a copyright strike. But let me know if I could pull that off if I just use the audio, because I definitely would rather do it like that. But that's just a little side note. Top 10 promos in ROH history. I think that would make for an awesome video. But, maybe I'll just do an audio only with myself on it, and I'll just put the link to the promo in the description if I can find them on YouTube. So I might do that. But yeah, Morishima Danielson, the rematch here. Not as good as Manhattan Mayhem. Kind of a predictable match. You just kind of knew Danielson wasn't winning, especially if it wasn't. This match actually went on before the Briscoes match. So anytime a ROH World title match goes on before the main event, most times you're not going to expect a title change. I mean, it's happened in the past. When Danielson won the title, I believe AJ Styles and Jimmy Rave was the main event. I think when Jay Briscoe won the title for the second time against Elgin, I think Young Bucks and Red Dragon were the main event. So it has happened, but in this situation with Danielson's first match back from the eye injury, you remember he had to miss Bowl of 2007 because of the eye injury as well. But, in this match, Morishima is actually going after the eye with Danielson wearing the eye patch. And it just made for a great story. Just had great intensity here. Danielson and Morishima just have, they just tell great stories. They have, like I said, they have great chemistry too for, two guys that don't speak the same language. I mean, there was just really good spots here with Danielson going for a small package and then Morishima countering it into a body slam. I thought that was cool. Morishima taking off the eye patch, and throwing it into the crowd, and then Danielson small packaging him for a near fall. Just great stuff, man. And then Morishima going after the eye. Referee had to stop the match too. So yeah, I mean, the Danielson eye injury, it's something that really affected me because, as you guys know, I play a lot of basketball, a lot of pickup basketball too, which sometimes is not very safe because sometimes the people you get on the court with, you don't know them very well. A lot of them could be very reckless, and when they foul you, they could hit you in the eye. I remember one time this guy just ran into me, and he ran right into my eye. And the first thought I had was, oh, fuck, I'm going to end up like Bryan Danielson. I got to get surgery, detached retina. My eye was just all red. It was bloody. But, luckily it wasn't that bad. But like I said, sometimes my first thought after getting hit in the eye is, Bryan Danielson. I just remember how, fucked up his eye. He couldn't even open his eye after that Mayhem match. He had to get surgery for a detached retina. So, it was just, the Danielson promo was very, very emotional too. And it's tough looking back on it now because of all the injuries. Even in that match, he talked about how he was considering retiring even back then because of the shoulder injury and this eye injury, contemplating going back to school. So it's kind of crazy how, that promo kind of took on a life of its own to the next degree. So here we go. We have the main event. We have the Briscoes taking on Kevin Steen and El Generico for the ROH World Title in the first ever ladder war in Ring of Honor history. And God, what can I say about this match? And it's crazy to think about, but the Briscoes and El Generico and Kevin Steen feud. This might be the very best feud in ROH history looking back at it. I mean, it was that good. I think the promos between Steen and Jay Briscoe were incredible. I thought both Steen and Jay were incredible on the mic throughout this whole feud. And, it's a shame that this match is so great. It got so much hype, caused such a reaction that, you kind of feel bad because they had matches that you could argue were just as good as this. I could say that the Boston Street Fight is pretty much on the same level as this. And then in Mayhem 2, they had a best 2 out of 3 falls match where I think the Briscoes won 2 falls in a row, but that was still spectacular. They even had matches in Philadelphia and at Fighting Spirit where Erick Stevens actually replaced Mark Briscoe, and then Mark Briscoe came out because he had the concussion. That's another underrated match. Even at Driven, they had another great match there. So the Briscoes and Kevin Steen and El Generico, possibly the best feud in ROH history. And this is the climax of the feud, the ladder war. It was just crazy stuff here, man. Just incredible stuff. I don't think a match. See, I started following ROH, a couple months before this match happened, and I remember reading the live reports, seeing the feedback. And God, this match got so much hype. People were saying best ladder match ever, by 5-star match. And it lived up to all the expectations. It really did. The pay-per-view as a whole had so much hype, and it lived up to all of it, man. I mean, El Generico took so much punishment here. He took the, a double hip toss from the Briscoes onto the ladder. There was package pile drivers and J drillers through the ladder. At the time when you heard reports of it, you're like, no fucking way. There's no way you could take that bump through the ladder. But that's exactly what happened there. So some of the people thought, a lot of people didn't believe some of the spots that happened when this happened. Probably the visually, the spot of the match, and maybe visually the most spectacular spot in ROH history. Jay actually went to the back and pulled out this huge orange ladder. And the ladder was so big that the Briscoes actually did the Doomsday Device to El Generico through the ladder. Looking back, they were able to clear the ladder. So it was, it wasn't a brutal spot or anything like that, but just looking at it was just like, man, it just looked so cool. Too much stuff to go over here. I mean, the Briscoes took so many great, especially Mark Briscoe took a lot of bumps trying to chase the belt. Just awesome stuff. I mean, some of the spots you just could not believe. And, felt a lot better than some of the recent ladder wars. I remember the ladder war between Adam Cole and Jay Briscoe. Just kind of tough to watch. I just felt like that match is a little bit forced. But with this match right here, I felt like the spots were spectacular, but at the same time, They weren't cringeworthy though. Like you were just invested in the feud, invested in the match. It didn't want to make you turn your head away from the match. The spots were spectacular. I mean, this is actually, I think Gabe said after the match, he'd never doing that shit again because it was too brutal. But, it didn't, I don't think this match turned people off though, even though they found it spectacular. Yeah, the ending was, I thought it was kind of botched when I first saw it, but now that I watch it back, I don't think it was botched at all. Jay had a tough time grabbing the tag team titles. He actually, pushed Steen down into the ladder, and then Steen was able to get up and, go after Jay before he actually took the belts off the belts that were hanging from the rafters. But, looking back on it, I don't think it was botched. I just think Gabe and everyone, I just think they wanted to add more drama to the match and made you I think they wanted to make you think it was kind of botched. But sometimes, that does happen, that the belts get stuck and it's tough to bring the belt down. But, then the aftermath here with the Age of the Fall was, pretty incredible. You had Seth Rollins making his ROH debut with Jimmy Jacobs' girlfriend, Lacey, and the Necro Butcher. Looking back on it, I think the Age of the Fall stable was great. I think it was great for Tyler Black. I think it really, gave Tyler Black an edge that he really needed. And, Jimmy Jacobs as well. Jacobs went through some really bad injury problems. He tore his ACL in the match with BJ Whitmer, went through that whole, Jimmy loves Lacey storyline. And he kind of turned his back on the word love in general, said that love doesn't save, nothing saves. And he kind of rebelled and became like this gothic, figure and, just developed the following with Lacey and all these followers that were kind of like anti-Briscoes. They went after the Briscoes because, the Briscoes represented what, all the fans were, drunks, the bloodthirsty, they felt like the Briscoes had all the power in Ring of Honor. So that's why they went after the Briscoes. And they actually hung Jay Briscoe from the rafters. So, that part was actually banned on pay-per-view. But, it was a great moment. The Age of the Fall, they brought a lot of crappy wrestling to Ring of Honor. I would say a lot of those brawls got kind of repetitive. But, the Age of the Fall did have its highlights. Tyler Black was a highlight. The Jimmy Jacobs, Austin Aries storyline was a highlight. I think they could have gotten more out of Lacey on the mic because Lacey has such a great personality and she could play such a great bitch, from a personality standpoint. I think they could have got a little bit more out of her, but that's Man Up, man. That was a great 2-hour pay-per-view. Let me just briefly touch on some of the bonus matches here. You had Amazing Kong and Daizee Haze taking on Lacey and Sara Del Rey. Good match right there. I would say one of the best women's matches in ROH history. Just to see Amazing Kong and Sara Del Rey go at it was really cool. I'll give that about 3.5 stars. Just the women weren't really showcased that well in ROH. They never got a lot of time, but this match was different, though. Just definitely good stuff. They were able to show what they can do there, especially Kong and Sara Del Rey. Just really good hot tags there. Tyler Black and Jack Evans ended up turning into Age of the Fall versus Jack Evans in the Irish Airborne. Just, basically, whenever you have a new stable debut in any professional wrestling stable, or a company, the first couple matches, it's about establishing, the stable as a heel. So they basically dictated the tempo and basically, dominated the match. That's how it went there. But, the final match I'll talk about, Matt Sydal versus Delirious. This is Matt Sydal, Evan Bourne's Ring of Honor farewell before he goes to the WWE, and they put him against Delirious. Sydal and Delirious have a lot of history together. They broke in together in 2004 in Ring of Honor, and they were actually the finals of the Survival of the Fittest 2006. So they just have a lot of history, a lot of chemistry. Matt Sydal's farewell in Ring of Honor was important. Sydal was one of the first guys to go to WWE. I think it was Hero that said this on PWG commentary. The 3 most important guys from the Indies ever were CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, and I think it was Matt Sydal. I think he said those are the 3 guys that kind of broke the barrier to get into the WWE. So yeah, man, Sydal's career in WWE was kind of a disappointment, to be honest with you. Eventually he came back to the Indies, but at that time, before the injuries happened, he really had a nice career as Evan Bourne in the WWE, and this was the end of Matt Sydal and him and Delirious. This wasn't their best work together. The crowd was kind of burned out by this point because it was a dark match. They had to follow all this stuff, but considering that, I would say it came off very, very well. So that's Man Up right here, without a doubt the best Ring of Honor 2-hour pay-per-view and one of the top 10 DVDs shows in ROH history, without a doubt. So I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Let me know what ROH Classic review you want reviewed next. And, maybe I'll review it with my brother when I see him over the Christmas break. So I'll see you guys later, and take care.